All the invitees and guests for today's 2 days national conference and 8th annual conference of Telangana Economic Association, inaugural session of the evaluation of welfare schemes in Telangana state, organized by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, Faculty of Social Sciences, Department of Economics, in collaboration with Telangana Economics Association T and Telangana State Council of Higher Education and Indian Council of Social Sciences Research, Southern Regional Center, ICSSR SRC. And I welcome all the guests once again. It is my proud privilege to welcome today's guests and invitees for today's national seminar. May I now welcome President of the function, Sri Professor K. Mutyam Reddy Garu, President of Telangana Economic Association. Kindly come on to the stage and occupy the chair, sir. Now I welcome today's chief guest, Professor D. Narasimha Reddy Garu, District Professor, Institute of Human Development, New Delhi. Once again, I welcome you, sir. Please come on to this stage and occupy the chair. I welcome today's keynote speaker, Professor S. Mahendra Dev, former Director and Vice Chancellor, IGIDR, Mumbai. Please come on to the stage and occupy the chair, sir. I welcome today's guests of honor, Professor T. Jyoti Rani Madam, former Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, Kakatiya University, Professor G. Pushpa Chakrapani Madam, Director Academic, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. Please come on to the stage and occupy the chair, Madam. And also I welcome our Registrar, Professor A.V.R.N. Reddy Garu, Registrar of the University. Please come on to the stage, sir. And also I welcome Social Sciences, Faculty of Social Sciences and Dean, Professor Srinivas Vadanam. Yeah. Now I welcome Professor C.H. Hanumantrao Garu, former member, Planning Commission, Government of India. Please escort Krishna Reddy Garu and Venkateshwar Garu. Also, I welcome Dr. B. Venkateshwar Rao Garu, Secretary cum Treasurer of Telangana Economic Association. And also, I welcome Dr. Krishna Reddy Garu, Head Department of Economics, B.R. Ambedkar Open University, and Conference Local Secretary. We recognize in this August gathering directors of the B.R. Ambedkar Open University, deans, heads of the branches, representatives of service association members, and research scholars from various universities, Department of Economics. They are in the August gathering. We welcome you once again, all the members, students, and research scholars. Now I request Dr. Bhoju Srinivas Garu, Associate Professor of Sociology, kindly present a flower bouquet to Professor D. Narasimha Reddy Garu. Sir. Also, I request Dr. P. Ramana Garu, P. Venkatramana Garu, Associate Professor of Sociology, kindly present a flower bouquet to Mahendra Dev ji, Professor Mahendra Dev. I request Dr. Rajini Madam, Associate Professor of Telugu, kindly present a flower bouquet to Jyoti Rani Madam. I request Dr. K. Avinash, Assistant Professor of Hindi, present a flower bouquet to Director Academic Professor Ganta Pushpa Chakrapani Madam. Rajinikanth, Superintendent of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, present a flower bouquet to our Registrar Dr. A.V.R.N. Reddy Garu. Mr. Vinay, Research Scholar, please come on to the stage. Present a flower bouquet to Professor Srinivas Vadanam Garu. Dr. Malaya, Assistant Professor of Economics, kindly present a bouquet to our today's President of the program, Professor Mutyam Reddy Garu. I request Sri Sunil Potana, Assistant Professor of Journalism, kindly present a flower bouquet to Dr. B. Venkateshwar Rao. Be ready. Dr. Kishore, Assistant Professor of Geology, present a bouquet to Dr. Krishna Reddy Garu. I request Yadagiri Garu Kambhampati, Assistant Professor of Journalism, kindly present a flower bouquet to Professor Sharma Rao. Now I request all the dignitaries on the dais kindly proceed for the offering of floral tributes and lighting of the lamp. Offering of floral tributes to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar portrait. Thank you very much, sirs and madams. Now I request Professor K. Muttireddy Garu, President of Telangana Economic Association and President of today's function, kindly to conduct the further proceedings. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I now invite K. Krishna Reddy, local secretary.
Good morning, all of you. Respected President of the inaugural session, Professor K. Muttireddy Garu, President, Telangana Academic Association, respected Professor C.H. Anwantarao sir, former member, Planning Commission, Government of India, Chief Guest, Professor D. Narasimha Reddy Garu, Visiting Professor, Institute for Human Development, New Delhi, Dr. K. Jayashankar, Professor K. Jayashankar Memorial Lecture by Professor T. Jyotirani Garu, Kakti University. Today's keynote speaker, Professor S. Mahendra Dev Garu, former Director and Vice Chancellor, IG, IDR Mumbai. Special guest, Professor G. Pushpa Chakrapani Garu, Director Academic, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. Registrar, Professor A.V. Reddy Garu, Professor Vaddanam Srinivas Rao, Dean Faculty of Social Sciences, and Professor B. Venkateshwara, Secretary, Telangana Academic Association, Professor E. Revati Garu, Director, TES, and other distinguished guests, academicians, administrators, scholars, faculty members from various higher educational institutions, media persons, staff members, and other students. On behalf of the Department of Economics, I extend my very warm welcome to all of you to this today National Conference. I would like to thank our beloved Vice Chancellor, Professor K. Sitaram Rao Garu, and Registrar Professor A.V.R. Reddy Garu for giving us this opportunity to conduct this seminar conference. On behalf of the Department of Economics, I gratefully acknowledge the support of Professor R. Limbadri, Chairman, Telangana State Council of Higher Education, and Professor B. Sudhakar Reddy, Director, ICSSR SRC, Hyderabad, in providing financial support to giving this conference, to organize this conference. I sincerely thank Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University teaching and non-teaching staff for their wholehearted cooperation. My special thanks to Professor Muttireddy, President, Dr. B. Venkateshwara Rao, Secretary, Professor N. Lingamurthy, former Vice Chancellor, Kakti University, Dr. A. Sudarshan Reddy, and other office bearers of Telangana Academic Association for giving us this opportunity to conduct this conference. This two-day conference focusing on economic theories of discrimination, federal finance with a special focus on Telangana, and evaluation of welfare programs in Telangana state. The Government of India has been implementing an advanced framework of welfare programs that will cover every oppressed caste or tribal group, backward community, and other religious minority to achieve the goal of social justice and the creation of an equitable society. This framework aims to achieve social, educational, and economic priority between targeted groups of individuals and other developed communities in the society. In this regard, nearly 180 delegates have registered and received 148 papers from the delegates from our Telangana state and other Indian states for presentations. I believe that this conference will bring out great ideas and deliberation on key themes and recommendations on the evaluation of welfare schemes in Telangana. I thank all the resource persons and guests for sparing their valuable time and expertise, the organizing committee for their hard work, and I request all the scholars and students to participate in the discussions enthusiastically. Thank you.
Thank you. I now invite Dr. P. Venkateshwar Rao, Secretary of the Telangana Economic Association, to introduce the Telangana Economic Association.
On behalf of the Telangana Economic Association, I extend a warm welcome to all the delegates and also the dignitaries on the dais. And I will present a brief report about the activities of the Telangana Economic Association. Maybe most of you know about the organization, but there will be some new members in the delegates who wants to know about it. So it is with the efforts of some senior faculty members and also research scholars that the idea of forming a Telangana Economic Association is taken place in the year 2016, and it was inaugurated on 10th September at RBVRR Women's College in 2016 in the presence of the eminent economists like Professor C.H. Hanmantarao, Y.V. Reddy, and late Professor R. Radhakrishna and others. This organization serves as a common forum for students, teachers, research scholars, and policymakers to discuss different aspects of the Telangana economy. So far, the association has conducted 7 annual conferences, and every year we choose 3 themes for the conference, and mostly they belong to the aspects of Telangana economy. And we invite the persons of eminence to deliver the presidential address, and we also conduct a Dr. Jaishankar Memorial Lecture every year, and we are also conducting a separate program, that is the pre-conference symposium every year on one topic. Normally, we are choosing a topic of local importance and conducting at the same place. For example, this year we have conducted in Hyderabad about the issues in tribal development. So like that, we have conducted 8 pre-symposiums in different parts of the state. And here, the association, it is only an 8-year-old association, and it is the services rendered by the earlier presidents, secretaries, and also executive committee members. It is because of this the association has reached to the present stage. And still there is a need to strengthen the organization, not only in terms of membership, but also by contribution of research papers and discussions that takes place at the level of the organization. So I request all the university faculty members and also from the degree colleges to join in more number and contribute to the association immensely. I thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Rahul. We have guests of honor. I now invite Professor G. Pushpa Chakrapani, Director Academy, Dr. P.R. Ambedkar Open, to give a message.
respected dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, my fellow colleagues, teaching and non-teaching fraternity, my dear students and research scholars, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to all of you. It is with great pleasure and sense of duty I stand before you for this inaugural session of Telangana Academic Association for meetings. I feel that it is our privilege to associate and host these meetings. In this connection, I would like to congratulate the Department of Economics for organizing this two-day national seminar on welfare schemes of Telangana state. After seeing this fused gathering, I feel that this gathering signifies our commitment towards the understanding the economy, welfare, and development of our beloved state of Telangana. As we embark this journey, it is imperative to note that we recognize the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. Telangana, with its rich experiences and resources and dynamic policies that has potential to emerge as a beacon of progress and prosperity in the country. We have witnessed the tremendous growth of 10 years, the last 10 years of Telangana. Though Telangana is the youngest state in the country, and it is emerged as the strongest economy in a short span of time. However, to realize our vision, we must embark we should work tirelessly to understand the socio-economic disparities that persist in the lives of the Telangana people. And we must strive to create an environment that fosters inclusive growth wherever every citizen has equal access to opportunities and its resources. In this pursuit, I feel the role of Telangana Economic Association becomes paramount. Through research, advocacy, and policy formulation, we can chart out a path towards a sustainable development that uplifts the lives of the Telangana people in the state. Our focus must be on the not just economic growth, but also we should adopt the holistic development that encompasses the education, healthcare, infrastructure, and environmental sustainability. Only by embracing this comprehensive and multidimensional approach, we can ensure that the benefits of progress reach every corner of our life in the Telangana state. At this juncture, I call upon all the stakeholders, government, academia, industry, and civil society to join hands in this noble endeavor. Let us work together with dedication and determination to build our Telangana that is prosperous, equitable, and inclusive. Thank you, one and all. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Pushpa, for your kind message. I now invite Professor A.B. Reddy, Registrar of the University, to give this message.
Good morning to all. Respected dignitaries on the dais and of the dais, research scholars, the various personalities who are attending here from various places of the state, particularly Telangana Economic Association members and Ambedkar Open University teaching and non-teaching staff and students. Set outside, first appreciate the Department of Economics for initiating this program here, the principles of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, particularly the evaluation of welfare schemes in the state. And I'm very much thankful to Telangana Economic Association for considering the request of the Department of Economics of B.R. Ambedkar Open University for conducting the conference here. Moreover, the main focus on particular evaluation of the schemes is the most important topic at present era. Why? Because that Indian or state economies or any state economy depends on the welfare as well as the development. Particularly the growth of GSP, whatever it may be, per capita, everything has to be involving that almost are eradicating the poverty that they linked with the welfare schemes and as well as the development of the state also. So particularly the evaluation is more important. Every state is coming forward to the almost all schemes are quoting a lot in every state, how it is performing, whether it's really reaching to the people beneficiaries or not, or any problems the beneficiaries particularly reaching to, or adopting the particular policies, whether technically or whatever administrative problems as well as the even economic problems. These are all come as a good conclusion after evaluation of these programs by the particular such associations like a Telangana economic or any economic association, particular economic bodies. Anyhow, I very much hopeful that expected that a lot of deliberations have to take place in today's conference, as well as they come out in a good conclusion. The conclusion will help the policymakers in making a good policies as a feedback, and also to introduce the new schemes, whatever they continue the schemes or modify any schemes. That I hope that the deliberations have to be very much helpful to the state and center as well as the society. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Reddy, for your kind message. It's my pleasure now to invite Professor Srinivas Vardhanam, Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar.
Good morning to you all. Most respected economist of our times, Professor Hanumantarao Garu, and respected dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, research scholars, invitees, students, and my faculty friends, and other non-teaching staff. Good morning to you all. I welcome you all to this seminar. I would like to congratulate our Telangana Economic Association for conducting this wonderful seminar on welfare schemes of Telangana. In fact, in our country, badly need professional bodies like Telangana Economic Association. I have been participating and associating as a student of history. I have been participating and associating of our professional bodies like Indian History Congress, South Indian History Congress, AP History Congress, and Telangana History Congress, that kind of many meetings. In fact, my friend and well-wisher, Professor A.V. Reddy Garu, always cautions me by spending time in the congresses. For myself, it may not be suitable, but always I feel and it gives immense pleasure to participate that kind of programs because some type of belongingness we feel there. It is our community. We can do something there. And we can meet elder people there and younger people there. Recent students to scholars, professors, in economists, and different kinds of people there, we can meet there. We can get some networking. We can get some ideas to explore new areas. We can get some platform to do some research on the different areas. So this kind of associations and professional bodies are very much important. For that matter, I congratulate Telangana Economic Association for taking this area to do some conducting some seminar. And also I congratulate my friend Dr. Krishna Reddy Garu for in Department of History, Department of Economics for conducting this seminar. In our university, in my faculty, Department of Economics is very important department. Department is offering UG courses and PG courses. And enrollment is around, in PG only around 400 enrollment is there in our PG courses. And also we offer MPhil course and PhD in economics department. Congratulations, Head of Department of Economics, Dr. Krishna Reddy Garu. In our topic, welfare economics, our constitution, we have written very clearly, we are socialist state. Our state is striving and doing job on that socialist to become socialist state. But after reforms, market economy has been emerged. What type of measures, welfare measures, development, just now our speaker told us that development and welfare are two different aspects. State, which area should concentrate, which welfare scheme is important for upliftment of public people. I would like to share one of my experience with you all. Recently, my friend in Central University, Professor, visited one Guttikoya tribal village in border of Chhattisgarh and Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Still in that village, no water, no electricity, no government policies are adopting there, no leadership, even no village committees also not existed. Still it is there in the 75 years of independence in Telangana. But other side of the coin, we are richest state. Telangana is a big state, richest state. Lakhs of rupees budget we are allocating for different areas. Where we are going, where funds are going, where are they utilizing? Our friends, economists, research scholars has to concentrate on that area to do research on that particular area. My suggestion and request to you all to concentrate social audit and evaluation and what type of measures should we incorporate to give proper welfare to our needy people. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Srinivas garu. Before I invite Professor T.N. Reddy garu, as I just briefly try to introduce the themes we have chosen. As our secretary said, every year we choose 3 themes on different aspects. And this year we have chosen, as usual, 3 themes. One theme is economic theories of discrimination and theoretical and empirical review. So, as all of you are aware, the economic discrimination is an evolving field of social inquiry into the problem of discrimination in economics. So, it is Gay Baker was one of the earliest economists to address this issue within the mainstream economics. So therefore, we have chosen this topic as a theoretical. Second, again, federal finances with a special focus in Telangana. Now, this issue is live. What's happening to the states and devolution of finances? So, recently, the last 2-3 days, what's happening in Delhi. So that is one other topic. And we have directed or advised paper writers to concentrate or focus on economic growth in Telangana state and the role of public finance in federal India. Trends in Indian public finances and its relation to states' public finances, harmony and conflict, and several other things to focus we have directed. The third theme, the evolution of welfare programs, evaluation of welfare programs of government of Telangana, the earlier government. So they have introduced several welfare programs and how those welfare programs are working. So it's our teachers, our researchers, they're closely associated with rural areas. The teachers who are working in district and district universities, newly established universities. So we hope, yes, we have received 148 papers on this theme. So, yeah, these are our themes we have chosen for deliberation in this year conference. I now invite Dr. Pani Rajita Madhuri, Associate Professor English, to introduce Professor D.N. Narasimha-Reddy garu.
A warm good morning, one and all. On behalf of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, Department of Economics, we welcome Professor D. Narasimha-Reddy, sir, noted development economist, And he was formerly Professor of Economics at University of Hyderabad and late Shankaran Chair Professor, National Institute of Rural Development, Hyderabad. We welcome you, sir, for this program. Presently, he is Honorary Visiting Professor, Institute of Human Development, New Delhi. His areas of specialization include labor economics, agrarian studies, and political economy of development. He supervised a large number of students for their MPhil and PhD thesis. His publications include Towards Understanding WTO Doha Development Round, published in 2005, Labor Regulation, Industrial Growth and Employment, a study of recent trends in Andhra Pradesh, published in 2008. He is an eminent educationalist, recognized by all over India as well as the world. His vast publications include Labor Regulation, Industrial Growth and Employment, a study of recent trends in Andhra Pradesh, Agrarian Crisis in India, Oxford University publication 2009, edited with Srijit Mishra, Political Economy of Microfinance and Marginalized Groups in Barbara Harris and White and Judith Heyo, edited, Indian Capitalism in Development 2015 published, Rural Labor Mobility in Times of Structural Transformation, Dynamics and Perspectives from Asian Economics. This is published in 2017. And India Social Development Report 2018, Rising Inequalities in India by Oxford University publication 2019. We deem it a privilege, sir, and your presence is going to be an added advantage and value addition to the present national seminar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Madhavi. It's my
appreciating for the finance minister.
Yes, now it's my pleasure to invite Professor D. Narasimha Reddy garu to deliver presidential address. I'm sorry, inaugural address.
Mr. President, Professor Nityan Reddy, Conference President, Professor Mahendra Dev, distinguished guest of honor of the day, Professor C.H. Hanumantrao garu, other distinguished colleagues in the profession on the dais, and also in the audience, and the delegates, friends. I thank, of course, to begin with, the Telangana Economic Association, especially the Executive Committee and the President for inviting me to deliver this inaugural address. But I am conscious of the facts that all of you, or I would say that all of us, miss the finance minister gracing this occasion. I'm a poor replacement for him. I think the presence of the finance minister here, I think it's well conceived, so that he would have an understanding of what perhaps the Telangana Economic Association would do for the state in terms of helping them in policy formulation. And at the same time, also, the Telangana Economic Association would also expect encouragement and support in various ways. That would have been a great strength to the association. However, we know that this is not exactly the time when he is supposed to present budget in the afternoon. He can't be here anyway. We are hoping that the finance minister very soon would grace one of the activities of the Telangana Economic Association. Now, let me briefly turn to that of certain concerns that we have about, let's say, regional professional associations, and particularly, of course, we are concerned with that of the Telangana Economic Association. One of the things that has been bothering, this is the 9th conference, as I understand, of the Telangana Economic Association. At every time, particularly whenever I had participated, one of the concerns is that we don't seem to be having as much of participation from the younger generation of our economics profession. There are, I think I'm told, 164 papers, but I don't count even half of them present here. But that doesn't matter. But even when it comes to the number of papers, there are, of course, I'm critically aware when I say this, of the kind of structural and institutional problems. This is exactly why I thought the finance minister should be there in the conversations of this kind. We know that across the levels and of particularly the higher education, there has been a great deal of some kind of a distress, sense that there are no regular appointments. There is no capacity of the distinguished colleges we have, as much as the universities we have in the state, to provide an atmosphere where youngsters would be in a position to actively participate in the activities which we refer to as academic in general, particularly in research activities. This needs to be corrected. And of course, hopefully some change should happen. Otherwise, we'd continue to have this kind of problem. Let me turn away from this situation. There are other concerns as well. So when it comes to the question of the research activities or other kind of engagements of the Telangana Association, it is true that, as the president was trying to say, normally there are 3 topics selected, one with a view to focus on the developments in theory in a particular branch of economics. Second is a larger issues of economic concern, not only for the state, but also for the country as well as, let's say, globally. Fiscal federalism could be this a larger kind of issue, whereas theory could be, let's say, the theory of discrimination. The third one refers to that of, let's say, regional, local kind of problems or programs like what has happened to that of the government welfare programs. But I think when we talk in terms of regional engagement, it is not necessarily the kind of engagements, I mean, it's very much necessary to understand what is happening to programs like welfare programs. But there are also certain things which cannot be done globally, which cannot be done even at national level, which regional economic associations like Telangana Economic Association would. For instance, I know I don't want to take much time because most important events of today's presidential address and of course honoring Professor Hanumantrao. Therefore, I would like to I just hint at what I mean by what we could do. Regional association doesn't mean merely looking at regional issues, but there are issues at the region which may perhaps enlighten the understanding of the larger dynamics of transformation. I would just mention, for example, when it comes to the question of, we are talking in terms of structural change as a part of development process. They're all, even let's say younger students of post-graduation also would know that we begin with that Aloysian transformation in structures, moving from predominantly agriculture to that of industry and let's say service sector. And we also know that no such transformation has happened in most of the let's say, Second World War independent countries, as it happened in the so-called highly developed countries earlier. That means they all became industrial and perhaps now service economies, but we still seem to be stuck with that of agriculture. And therefore, whatever you may call, you may be referring to that as some kind of a stunted kind of development. But the fact is that we have predominantly still agriculture is one of the major activities of the country. But what is happening is that we do have substantial information regarding that of what is happening in agriculture as a whole or what is not happening. And also, of course, what is not happening in the industry or what is happening in services. But when we refer to that of agriculture, we may have to look at, let's say, what has been happening during the last 20 years, particularly last 15 years. See, if we refer to that of drastic change in the contribution of agriculture to total GDP. So it has come down from somewhere, I think, early times from 52%. Presently, let's say about 18%. That's the share of agriculture in the total gross value added in India. But I think we have not looked as to what is happening structurally within agriculture. It is a big puzzle, actually. Because if you look at the agriculture within, see, for instance, presently, if you assume it is about 18% of the total gross national value, agriculture contribution could be anywhere between that of, let's say, now they are saying it's coming down to 14, but I would perhaps refer to the data that I have because we have about 3 years gap, and therefore it shows that it's about 18%. That's this 18% is the product of people who are at a national level 45% of workers. If you refer to that of rural, it would be more than 55%. So if you look closely at the structure of this 18% contribution, we can look at, let's say, the contribution in terms of crop sector. We can talk in terms of livestock, including fisheries. And then within the crop sector, there are several structural changes. I mean, in terms of value, if you look at the crop sector itself, if you draw a line between crops in, let's say, staple crops, and that of, let's say, horticulture, particularly high-value crops, there's so much of change. For instance, within this, let's say, this 18%, I mean, it has come down to 18%, let's say, it's more or less stagnant between 2011 and 2012, and that of 2022, 23. This 18% is more or less not much changed. But within that, there has been drastic change. For instance, within the 18%, if you take agriculture as 100%, and then look at the crop sector, it was about 65%, almost 2/3 of agriculture product in 11-12 was from crop sector. And that has drastically come down to that of, let's say, 55%. And if you open the crop sector and divide it between that of all the crops, we refer to that of, let's say, crops like grain, major grains, or let's say fiber, and differentiate it from that of, let's say, fruits, vegetables, etc., which are referred to as high-value crops. There is, I think, substantial kind of change within. For instance, in 11-12, of the 2/3 of crop sector, almost half was the high value crops. And by the time we come to that of 22, 23, it increases to that of, let's say, the share of high value crops increases more than that of, let's say, the other crops. I mean, the question I am trying to raise is that not all, I mean, then we turn to that of the share of, let's say, livestock, including fisheries. It was something like, let's say, 26% in the total agricultural value, livestock value. It has come to that of 37%. See, therefore, the livestock and high value crops are eating into that of the, I mean, eating in the sense, in terms of value. Therefore, in 22-23, the main crop contribution to that of agriculture product was just about, let's say, 17%. I mean, this raises questions because if you look at, let's say, the engagement in agriculture, if you have to have fair balance of incomes for those who are in agriculture, the relative prices, of course, there is also growth plus relative prices, is making a play in this changing value structure internally in agriculture. Therefore, assuming that most of the farmers, there may not be much of a contest because this regional association, I know that many people have regional understanding of this, in the sense local. If you look at, let's say, small marginal farmers or big farmers, most of them, as far as you may differ, perhaps most of them cultivate main crops. You see that, for instance, Telangana cultivates most of the area paddy and, let's say, cotton. 80% is over. And most of the farmers cultivate paddy and cotton. No other crop. Therefore, the paddy cotton cultivating, if they are majority, you see within this 18% of the national income, you take into consideration those who grow paddy and all only. And if you say that they are about 80% of the farmers, 80% of the farmers within agriculture end up with that of 17% of the total product. Within agriculture, I'm not talking. If you calculate it as a national product, of the 18% national income, in the national income of agriculture, the crop sector, which is differentiated into that of staples, taking away the high value crops like horticulture, would be only about 5%. And that means if we have, let's say, 45% of people engaged in agriculture across the country, and of them, let's say, 80% are major crop producers, their incomes are dependent upon this 5% of the crops grown. This is a puzzle. I'm bringing this to notice because there are no answers in large-scale national service. This is exactly, we can do it. Telangana Economic Association can discuss and tell, look at the village level. See, we have forgotten importance of micro-studies, thinking it's a micro-study. It's no, micro-study is much more important in understanding macro dynamics. So put this in. If you provide data as the number of people in a village, take a village as, let's say, how many farmers in a village, of the total farmers, are producing. If it's a beautiful thing to say that if a small farmer is engaged in this diversity, he produces some staples, produces horticulture, engages in, let's say, dairy and some poultry, beautiful. But that doesn't happen. It doesn't seem to happen. There is some kind of a strict kind of barriers. It could be, let's say, some barriers of caste also when it comes to entry into that of some of the what could be called as livestock. And then, of course, nobody thinks that every farmer can produce, let's say, vegetables. There could be kitchen gardens. Of course, Professor Mahendra Dev, when he was in IGI, did wonderful study on the basis of Spandana, sponsored by the Microsoft Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They did a study on the impact of kitchen gardens, also on the nutrition of that apart. They may be having, let's say, but no market value. You may estimate that also. So who would provide this kind of a gap-filling information? There is a great deal of role for, let's say, this is a role which contributes to that of a larger understanding. So therefore, a regional association, a micro-level study, doesn't mean that it's a regional importance. It's, of course, greater importance in understanding macrodynamics. I can go on giving examples. For instance, urbanization. If you look at, let's say, the urbanization, right from 2001, the Indian urbanization is quite different from what is happening, what happened in the rest of the world. Just as we refer to that of the kind of structural transformation that happened from agriculture, industry, services elsewhere, we find that when it comes to our urbanization, from 2001, it is not the large mega cities which are contributing to that of increase. Of course, there is no rapid increase. Still, we are, of course, last census was 11, and of course, we are hobbying now. Even to think in terms of census is difficult now, that's okay. But when it comes to the question of 2001 onwards, between 2001 and 11, the increase in urban population is largely due to the increase in small towns. And in fact, there are also two categories of small towns. Small towns which become municipalities, they are called as statutory towns. There are small towns which are more than 5,000, 40% non-agriculture, and also density is high. These are still not considered as municipalities, but the major panchayats, but they are urban. As far as census is concerned, we call them as census towns. Much of the growth in urbanization is happening due to that of these small town networks. What does it mean? You have a huge advantage in India when you have urbanization driven by small towns. You have a network of small towns, you have villages connected. Therefore, your entire planning should be focused on how to link these small towns across rural small areas. Therefore, there could be, let's say, hubs of, let's say, other economic activity. Herein, we talk of migration. We have a lot of, until now, not clear data, but a lot of international migration. We have clear data. National migration, we have some data. We have at least seasonal migration, some data. But we don't have any data about, let's say, those who live in a village, 15 kilometers, 5 kilometers, they commute. In fact, there are studies, for instance, there are examples of training studies. There is a city called, I don't remember the city, but the study made shows 43% of those who work in the day in that city are commuters. We don't have information on commuting. In fact, we did do that village study under Telangana, Kakatiya University. Romulu did a study. Romulu did a study of non-farm activities in a village, where I think he identified substantial non-farm activity which we report in the village. You enumerate households, say that he is non-farm, but his location of work is in Warangal. Daily commuting. There are about 40% in that village, daily commuters. What does it show? If you develop proper transport, therefore there is a free bus to women, yes. You provide, let's say, other facilities. The commuting would reduce, let's say, substantial moving away from, let's say, the village and then suffering the kind of ill-treatment or lack of amenities in urban areas. These are the issues we have to highlight. No national survey gives you this information. Well, anyway, we can go on that. I have an opportunity to register these things. The association can discuss several such issues, identify and make the youngsters do it in spite of, let's say, the present institutional difficulties, lack of people and all that. But I hope to to continue our kind of a spirited engagement with the local, which would perhaps also help the global. We also need the support of the state and rectifying perhaps the deficiency we have, our requirements in higher education. I hope it will be solved. And thank you very much for inviting me to do this.
Thank you, sir, for your insights you have given. And I must seek apology because I have given sir only just 2 days. He has come to our risk. Earlier, we thought of inviting Minister, Finance Minister. When I met him, he promised to come. And he said, within 2 days, I will invite you and we will discuss the details of it. That latter, I couldn't get his time. So at that time, I approached him, I requested Professor Narasimha Garu, and that how he came to our desk. So I thank you very much, sir. Now I invite Dr. Sumaya Amkin, Assistant Professor Urdu, to introduce Professor S. Mahendra Dev, the conference president.
Thank you, sir. Respected esteemed guests on the dais and off the dais, a very good morning and welcome to our university. I'm delighted to introduce a keynote speaker, Professor S. Mahendra Dev, who has warmly accepted our invitation to join us today. Professor S. Mahendra Dev is currently Director and Vice Chancellor at Indira Gandhi Institute of Development Research, IGIDR, Mumbai. He was Chairman of the Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices for the Ministry of Agriculture of the Government of India. He is Vice Chairman of the Board of Trustees and International Food Policy Research Institute, Washington, D.C. He was member and acting chairman of the National Statistical Commission, Government of India. He got the prestigious Malcolm Edicia Award in 2016. He was director of Center for Economic and Social Studies in Hyderabad. Professor Dev has more than 200 research publications in national and international journals. He has written or edited 19 books. Oxford University Press has recently published 6 books, Inclusive Growth in India. He has been a consultant and advisor to many international organizations and a member of several government committees, including the Prime Minister Task Force on Employment and Rangarajan Commission on Financial Inclusion. So I warmly welcome you once again, sir. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
It's my pleasure now to invite Professor Mahendra Dev. Former Vice Chancellor and Director, IGIDR, Bombay, and Honorary Professor, IFA University, Hyderabad.
Professor Hanmant Rao, Professor Narasimha Reddy, Professor Mutyam Reddy, Professor Jyoti Rani, and all the dignitaries on the dais, and all the invitees and participants. A very good morning to all of you. So it's a great honor and privilege to deliver the presidential address at the 8th annual conference of the Telangana Economic Association. So I'm grateful to Dr. Mutyam Reddy and other office bearers of the association for conferring this honor to me. In fact, when I was the president of the Indian Economic Association, I used to go to all the regional economic associations and try to strengthen. So the importance of the regional economic association is well taken. And also this annual conference of association also provide opportunities for young scholars to present research papers
and interact with eminent economists and also other social scientists. I also thank Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University for organizing this conference. Keeping in view the broader interests of the Telangana Economic Association, I have chosen to speak on India at 100, the opportunities and challenges for achieving growth, inclusion, and pro-nature development. I mean, it's a long one. Generally, I prepare a long one so that people, research scholars and the others will benefit. But I will give you only a summary of this paper given the time constraint. So, as you know, India celebrated 75th year of independence in 2022. So this gives an opportunity to reflect on the achievements and also challenges for the next 25 years. That's India at 2047. So there have been many successes and failures in independent India. The economic and social development, there is significant improvement. Also, there are many challenges. For example, in the last 75 years, there's been slow progress in 5 areas. One is the infrastructure development. Second, accelerating labor-intensive manufacturing. Third, education and skill of workers. Fourth, the social sector development. And fifth, the sustainable development, where in the next 25 years we have to concentrate. So the India developed country by 2047, what are the challenges and opportunities? Indian economic growth, in fact, in the first half of 20th century under the British rule was at 0.89% per annum. So from a stagnant economy, India moved, and also 3.5% till late 70s, the so-called Hindu growth rate of growth. Now we moved to 6 to 7% in the last 2 decades. And during COVID period, of course, there was a setback. But even before COVID, India's growth rate has declined. But if you see the last 4 years growth rate from 2021 to 24, it is about 4.6% per annum. If you take the levels from 2019-22, their period. So way forward to 2047, a report of the CII, Confederation of Indian Industries, says that India's GDP can grow from current 3.5 trillion to 5 trillion by 26-27, 9 trillion by 2030, and $40 million by 2047. So also, you can see in the media, India is going to be the third largest economy, by 2030 or so. So how do we achieve that? Actually, Dr. Rangarajan estimated, some of the, how to achieve this. So according to his calculations, I've given in the paper, we need a real growth rate of 7% per annum and the 11% the nominal growth to achieve this target of the developed country by 2047. So I won't go into the details there in the paper. And then now I've mentioned that there are several factors for growth, but investment and exports are the prime engines of the growth. But investment, if you see, last 2011-12 to 2023, the investment rate declined from 38% to 29%. So the challenges are known. In fact, Dr. Rangarajan says it should be 34% or 35% in order to achieve 7% growth in the next 25 years. Similarly, exports is also a primary engine of growth. Although there are problems of, at the global level because of deglobalization and all, but still India has a scope for exports. And then although the tariffs rates have increased and all, there are problems. But still, because China plus one strategy now, because China is their growth rate is declining, so there are chances for India to exports. And there are other opportunities like digital technology and so new sources of growth. Recently, EY, the Ernst and Young, provides a report on how do you achieve to 2047 this developed country. So they give 8 growth drivers. One is world's information technology and services hub, India, and digitalization, second, and filling the credit gap, that's third, and also private capital, thriving entrepreneurship, fourth, and reaping the demographic dividend, fifth, and competitive domestic manufacturing, sixth, and in building infrastructure for future, seventh, and transition to sustainable energy. So these are the 8 drivers of growth according to their report. Now I come to the structural transformation which Professor Narasimha Reddy was talking about. The the Kuznets and others have talked about this structural transformation. So I've given the numbers and all. I won't go into that, but there are 2-3 conclusions in the structural transformation in output and employment. Output, of course, agriculture share has declined to 18% or so, from 58% or so in the 70s and all. But employment, still we have 45% or so in agriculture. That's number one. Number two is the structural transformation happened to services in terms of output, but not employment. In manufacturing, in fact, the share of output has been 17% or so, but the share of employment has been constant at 12% for a long time. So that's the crucial thing which, compared to East Asian countries and in India, why the poverty is still relatively higher compared to their countries. The manufacturing sector, we have not achieved the employment. And in whatever happened in employment, the construction sector has absorbed many of the employment of the agriculture, some of the employment. So it is not manufacturing that absorbed. Even services with 58% of output has only about 30% or so employment. So these are the changes which which Kuznets talks about earlier. Now coming to the how structural transformation can be achieved, I've given on agriculture what can be done. I won't go into the details. Dr. Narasimha Reddy already mentioned some of them. On manufacturing and services, recently a debate, there is a book by Dr. Raghuram Rajan. He says services are important for India, particularly because of IT and other things. But I agree with that observation, but with a caveat that manufacturing also we have to expand. So we have to work on 2 legs, both manufacturing and services, because you can't neglect manufacturing sector. And then I come to my second part of the address, that is inclusive development. Here, what is inclusive development? I start with concepts. There are 2-3 concepts. One is pro-poor growth. Pro-poor growth is about poor, benefit from the growth. The poverty, if it is declined, they call it pro-poor growth. And inclusive growth is the pro-poor growth plus reducing inequalities, income inequalities. So here we are talking only about income, whereas inclusive development is reducing inequalities, but not only income but also non-income. So inclusive development is much broader than the inclusive growth as well as pro-poor growth. So that's about concepts. So here I will be talking about 3-4 things: the poverty inequality, achieving zero hunger and reducing malnutrition, social sector development. So these are the things on inclusive development. On poverty, we know the numbers. I won't go to the details. In the post-reform period, particularly 2004 to 2012, the poverty significantly declined. Part of the reason is that the real wage growth has improved during this period. That was the main reason. And recently, of course, Niti Aayog brought about multi-dimensional poverty index and all, which we are going to discuss in some of the sessions. So here, of course, Telangana is number 5 in achieving these poverty levels, much better than some of the other states. The all India level poverty, according to them, is about 15%, and Telangana about 5.9 or so. On inequality, we hear about Oxfam reports and also several other reports, inequality reports, that top 10% have 70% of the wealth, whereas bottom 50% have only 10% of the wealth or so. So those numbers are well known. And also the Gini coefficient, representing the inequality, has increased over time. In fact, Professor Hanumantarau's article, gives the problems and this, some of the what are the measures needed for on inequalities. Coming to regional disparities, in per capita state domestic product, I compared the 12th Finance Commission and the 15th Finance Commission numbers because they are comparable data. They give it to the finance commissions because whereas other data are not comparable. So it shows there are some significant changes in the rankings. For example, Punjab was number 1 in the 99-2000, but in 2016-19, it is number 9 in the per capita things. So there are some changes, but still inequalities have not reduced. In fact, the coefficient of variation increased to 0.46 during 1999 to 0.67 in 2019 or so. So there is significant increase in regional disparities in per capita state domestic product. And the rank correlation between these two periods is quite high. So not much reduction in regional disparities. On achieving zero hunger and reduction in malnutrition, I have 5 points. There are 5 challenges. One is, according to FAO, still 17% of India's population, about 230 million, are undernourished. Undernourished, basically calories and all. So about 17%. Second one is, in spite of decline in malnutrition, 35% of India's children suffer still from malnutrition, which is higher than this number than Africa and other countries. And number 3 is, among women aged 15 to 49, the anemia has increased over time from 53% last NFHS to 57%. So this is number 3. Number 4 is the 77% of Indians can't afford the healthy diet. Healthy diet is about $3 per day. So Indians spend about $1.5 or $2 actual thing, and they can't afford the healthy diet. Healthy diet has, of course, all the nutrients, micronutrients, the proteins and calories. So that's number 4. The last one is, in spite of malnutrition and all, obesity is increasing. That's another problem, particularly in urban areas, not only in urban, but also in rural areas, because people are not eating enough proteins and enough micronutrients and all. So these are the 5 challenges one has to address regarding reducing, achieving zero hunger and malnutrition. On social sector development, we know the problems Dr. Narasimha Reddy also mentioned about higher education. But there are generally 6 problems in social sector in general and health and education in particular. One is still, India's Human Development Index, if you see, or low levels of human development indicators. and also slow progress in these indicators, and significant regional, social, and gender disparities in these indicators, and slow growth in public expenditure in social sector. If we see the expenditure on education, health, and poor quality delivery systems in many of these, particularly public sector. And also the public versus private, education and health, the private, for example, education, private universities are increasing, and health also, private hospitals are playing major role. That's why I generally quote the Deputy Prime Minister of Singapore when it comes to social sector, education, particularly. Professor Narasimha talked about higher education, but he says schools are the biggest crisis in India today and have been for a long time. Schools are the biggest gap between India and East Asia, and it is a crisis that cannot be justified. So that sums up the problems of social sector. So equity in quality education, of course, is important because if you don't have that equity in education and in quality education and health, it will create further exclusion of disadvantaged sections, because the upper caste and others will have better higher education, better health, but the lower, the disadvantaged sections will not have the quality education and health. Another one, of course, inequality is the empowerment of women. Because this is one important factor, particularly in South Asia and India, the gender disparities are quite high. And skill development is another issue, because some numbers Niti Aayog mentioned, for example, UK and other countries, Germany, US, about 70% are skilled, but in India only 2%, or even recent numbers 5 to 10% are skill development. On regional disparities, human development, there is a paper in EPW recently which gives the disparities. It doesn't give, because it starts from 1990, it doesn't give Telangana here. But here they say that there is some convergence of human development indicators across states. In fact, recently there is a paper by Professor Kakwani, which he presented at CES. It's also CES paper on pro-poor growth and all. He says if you take per capita income, India is diverging across states. But if you take human development indicators like infant mortality, life expectancy and all, states are converging. But I pointed out that time also, because see, there is a limit for human development indicators. For example, life expectancy in Kerala cannot go more than 90 or something. Whereas whereas income, there is no limit. So there is, we call it asymptotic limits for this life expectancy, infant mortality, and others. So as a result, obviously they will converge over time. For example, Bihar life expectancy will improve. Kerala will be probably 85, 90. So there is no surprising that they're converging that. But one has to worry about income disparities. Income is not converging. So that is the whole thing about the regional disparities. And then policies for reducing inequalities, Mantra also discussed. One, of course, I discussed here, employment. There are some positives in trends in employment. For example, some of the regular wage salaried also share has increased. And recently, work participation rates have increased. Also, one may question that what is the quality of the employment. But the third one is also unemployment rates declined. For example, 2017-18, 6%. Now it is 3%. And also for youth, 17% earlier. Now it's 10%. And also structural transformation in rural areas happened, because non-farm employment we were talking about. there is significant increase in the employment in rural areas, the share of rural non-farm employment. So there are some positive things, but there are several challenges. One is employment of women, because earlier it was 2004-5 or so, it was 40% the participation rates. It came down drastically to 22% in 2017-18. But recent PLFS say that women's participation rates have increased to 35%, but still lower than the earlier 40%. So India is one of the lowest women participation rates in the world. And the female work participation rates showed U-shape. I mean, it declined and increased in the last 20 years. And the next one is, of course, youth unemployment is, although there is a decline, but still, for example, graduates and above, for 15-29, it's about 30% unemployment. So one of the highest in the world. So youth unemployment is one. And high share in informal sector. Informal sector, share has been increasing. That's another problem. So there are two, economists, the Kuznets talked about structural transformation. Probably in India, it happened a little bit because share of agriculture, from 70% earlier, now 45% or so. But the Arthur Lewis kind of thing has not happened because he said subsistence in modern sector. But, the informal sector is still high. So Arthur Lewis kind of structural transformation has not happened, although Kuznets kind of thing little bit happened. Now I come to the some other policies for reducing inequalities, social protection, which, we've been talking about the welfare schemes and all, which are needed for because everybody can't get productive employment and all, so they are needed. And India has done reasonably well, although implementation and others have problem. And another issue is, this more investment in less developed states is important because infrastructure is less there and we need more investment there. And also Professor Mantrao and Dholake and others have shown smaller states are more important for, for better development. For example, UP is a very large state. Maybe need to have smaller states to develop much more, so like Telangana and other states. Now I come to the third part of my address, the pro-nature development and climate change. Here, actually, on agriculture, of course, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, who got the Bharat Ratna yesterday, he talked even in 1960s, when the Green Revolution was there, that don't be greedy about the Green Revolution. He warned that time itself, the Punjab farmers and all, don't waste water and don't, the things. So that time itself he said, and he started this evergreen revolution kind of thing. And climate change, the issues are well known, and the Prime Minister announced, India will have a neutral kind of thing by 2070, zero emission by 2070. And then also the change in the energy thing from fossil fuel to the renewable energy. Also India promised, and India is relatively doing well in that. But there are many things are needed. I gave a table where the carbon emissions are higher. Number one carbon polluter, carbon emission is the electricity, gas, steam, and air conditioning supply. So that has emission intensity is very high, CO2 emission intensity in that. The second one is metal products. And third one is the water transport is another one. Fourth, air transport thing. So in fact, agriculture is number 10 in that. We thought agriculture is one of the polluters, but the carbon emission thing. But so all this one has to concentrate on, for taking the climate change impact. The less also agriculture, we need less water intensive because as Professor Narasimha Reddy was talking about paddy and cotton, this rice water and rice the wheat, sugarcane occupy about 80% of the water. So need for, of course, more water intensive, less water intensive crops, and also a kind of natural farming and conservation agriculture. Those kind of things are also needed. Natural farming, for example, Andhra Pradesh, they are doing much, large scale, and you can't do overnight, like Sri Lanka, you can't do, but the proportion has to increase. Now I come to the last part, the fiscal federalism, which you're going to discuss in this conference. Because the role of states is very important. States spend 60% of the total expenditure, 70% of the capital expenditure, and 70% of health expenditure on health and education. And also they have 75% of the employment, particularly in the public sector, they create. The role of states and their fiscal expenditures and all are equally important if you want to achieve the developed country status by 2047. So I've given numbers of fiscal deficit and debt burdens and all on state finances. I won't go into the things because the gross fiscal deficit of states, you can see some of the states are having higher, but this only budget gives. There are also off-budget borrowings there. So if we add that, it will be much higher. Now I come to the Finance Commission, thing which also mentioned earlier. 16th Finance Commission was appointed recently, the Professor Arvind Panagaria and some other members. But there are many challenges in that. One is that, all the finance commissions, Professor Hanmantarao was a member of the two commissions. Generally, they used to give fair allocation to particularly the backward, less developed states. That is the intention of thing. Because, all others, for example, the private investment or the foreign direct investment, and all come to the developed states. For example, southern and west states, and infrastructure development and all. So the backward or the less developed states, they don't get infrastructure, and also the private investment and the foreign direct investment and all. So the Finance Commission is the only institution which try to equalize the states across states on finances. So that's why it's important. But on the other hand, there is southern discomfort in the sense South Indian states think that they are discriminated because of they're doing well. So performance should not be penalized. That's the point which the Karnataka Chief Minister also mentioned, that they contribute one rupee, but they get 13 paisa from the center. So there is, on the one hand, we have to help the less developed states, which the finance commissions have done well. On the other hand, the problems of the performing states, you can't wish away that. And it will keep on increasing much more, as shown by the last 2 days, what happened in Delhi by Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala states. Which is, they're right that they're performing well. Why should they be penalized for that? But on the other hand, what is the solution? We have to discuss these solutions. What should happen? To help the poorer states, but southern states and western states should also get equal, because the share of southern states in allocations has declined from 21% or so in 10th Finance Commission to about 16% in 15th Finance Commission. So these are the issues one has to discuss in the things. And fiscal policy also plays useful for sustainability and reducing climate risks because they also can be useful. Now I come to the concluding observations. So these are the summary of what the presidential address. You can read later. The details are given. So there are, for growth, India, global and domestic challenges and opportunities for raising higher growth. Because globally, what's happening is there are several issues which G20 also discussed. Inequalities are rising, climate change problems, deglobalization, the trade, also not, there are problems of supply chains and others. With that, India has to mind the global challenges. So more efforts are needed for higher growth given the slowdown in pre-pandemic period and also during pandemic. And also K-shaped recovery, because what's happening is the larger manufacturing sector or corporates, they could withstand the pandemic, whereas the informal sector and others could not withstand. And for sustainable growth and job creation, two engines of growth, investment and also exports. And deglobalization is a challenge. But India's historic opportunity, because China is slowing down, that is, and also demographic advantage. In fact, I was talking about the poorer states. Bihar, UP, and all have advantage of demographic dividend because their median age, even by 2036, is about much higher than the other southern states. For example, Kerala, by 2036, also 16% of will be old age population. So the poorer states or the less developed states will contribute to the growth and human development in the years to come. So even that point of view, also one has to give more allocations to the less developed states, because other states, southern states, may be more aging and all, less demographic dividend. India is now aspiring to achieve the status of developed nation by 2047. However, India's ranked per capita income is 139 among the 180 countries also. So per capita income wise, we are still, although people say third largest economy or something, we are still lower. Inequalities, income, wealth across social groups and regions in India should reduce considerably in the next 25 years, and efforts have to be made. Of course, employment is the crucial thing. Productive employment is the crucial thing. And social protection also, I support like cash transfers and all, which are needed apart from expenditure on health and education. And role of states in this journey is more important than the center. And similarly, women empowerment. So India has progressed on many fronts. So now the task is to build on the achievements so far and strengthen democracy and move towards a society that is not only prosperous, but also equitable and pro-nature. So I hope Telangana Economic Association, apart from working on Telangana state, will participate in some of the larger issues at the national level. And when the nation is going to, have the ambitious plans of developed country and also in both inclusion and sustainability. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Summarize.
Before requesting Professor Jyotirani for delivering memorial lecture, we will felicitate Professor Hanumantrao Garu, and I request local secretary to make felicitation arrangements. Meanwhile, I request Professor Revati to speak about Professor Hanumantrao garu.
Good morning to all. Telangana Economic Association has thought of felicitating Professor Hanumantrao garu for his lifetime achievements, and we all know that. I think the gathering here, especially the younger generation, should be knowing about the achievements of Professor Hanumantrao garu. So in that view, I'll just briefly present his achievements, academic and also otherwise. Because we have a lot to learn from his research work as well as from his life. I think Professor Hanumantrao garu was born in 1929 in Karimnagar district, and his schooling was in the same district. And from childhood itself, he had non-compromising attitude, where in school he was rusticated for being associated in students' union. He was part of AHSU, that is All Hyderabad Students' Union, when its activities had been expanded in districts also, especially where he was a student of schooling itself in Karimnagar district. When the headmaster has asked him to give apology for being involved in students' union activities and also not to be associated with that. Then he simply refused it, and he was rusticated from the school. After that, he, as a private student, he has completed his higher secondary education. And the other time that he was arrested was when he was in intermediate as a student in City College, but when he was in the Hyderabad city, as he was a member of Communist Party, and then he was sent to Jalna jail. And after that, he completed his secondary education as a private student from Ajmer. And that's his first stint of arrest that he had faced. And the other time that he was arrested was again in 1951, where after India has got its independence, and still, but there was the movement going on in Telangana. Then later, his involvement in these student activities has a little bit delayed in studies, but he has come up that and then completed his BA in Nizam College and MA in Osmania University, and later has completed his PhD from Institute of Economic Growth from Delhi. He has worked under Professor Vikas Mishra. He is closely associated with his work with A.M. Khusro and BKRB Rao. Professor Hanumantrao has started his work. Actually, I think he'll be also responding to it. What is his association with Telangana? His MA monograph was on agriculture marketing in his native village in Marupaka village in Karimnagar district. So that MA monograph, which was completed in 1957, is there, and we have digitized that and kept it for the benefit of students. The other project that he was involved was in economic consequences of Jagirdari Abolition Act. That as part of that project, a lot of data has been collected on land holdings and other related issues, which was also used by him for further kind of explorations into the agriculture situation in Hyderabad state, and also later in the Andhra Pradesh state. For his PhD, he has worked on taxation of agricultural income in Andhra Pradesh, which is again a 3-region study, where he selected Karimnagar, Anantapur, West Godavari and Krishna districts in the Andhra. So this is one more work that he has done on Telangana and Andhra also. And the other work that he has done on agriculture was on production functions, agriculture production function, costs and returns, also which data was used. The data was on Telangana and Andhra. Later, I think these three works are related more into the core of agriculture, but later his works have been diversified into other areas like federal finances, center-state relations, small states, poverty, food security, and in recent times, not in recent times, but for considerable time, has been working on inclusive growth and development. His recent work on rising income inequalities, that Professor Mahendradev also has mentioned, is a very important work in this direction, which has also attracted a lot of discussion and attention from social science researchers. I think he has emphasized that it's not only economic factors. We all know that income inequalities are rising and it has already been established. But the essential factors are why, and then the sociological factors and the political factors to understand this phenomenon of rising income inequality, and also the dynamics of inclusive growth and development. And his contribution to other policy-making bodies is very well known. He has been a member of the Planning Commission and also two finance commissions and chairman of various bodies, and contributed at a highest level to the policy-making of the country. And he, as a chairman of director of IEG, Institute of Economic Growth, and chairman of Center for Economic Studies, and also now presently as honorary professor and founder member of the center. He has made immense contributions to the research and always helped the faculty and students to formulate their problems and also to make a kind of a good kind of analysis on the issues. His observations are sharp, very incisive, and straight to the point, reflecting the actual situation on the ground. And this is because of the fieldwork and extensive reading of literature on the subjects. He always says that one should be reading and reading so that to understand the issues and make it an analytical kind of research. His journey as a communist in student days, that is Marxist-Leninist ideology, to socialism, democracy, planned development, that of inclusive development. This is a long journey, which has been very well captured in his book, My Journey, which has also come out in Telugu. That's an essential reading to all the younger generation here, because it's also available in Telugu. In view of the changing worldview, socio-economic conditions, equity-led growth is suitable. Thinks that equity-led growth is suitable for the Indian conditions, and that the factual situation was different from theory. He also, as a student and as a researcher, it was his work did not much cling on to the theory, but always was empirical, grounded, and then which was suitable to the changing socio-economic conditions of the country and economy and society. And the other thing that we have to learn is that whatever Sir writes, and he always says that you keep it aside and you yourself look at it again, so you know what are the you yourself would correct that. So don't send immediately anything after you write to the publication or to the journals, but take time and re-look at it. So that's a very valuable kind of suggestion that is there. And as researchers, that is, we all should be following that. I think there's so much to learn from his life and from his achievements, from his every word that he says is a learning to all of us. So I think the younger generation are here, and even we always keep learning from him. I thank you. So the citation has been prepared by the association. I read it now. Professor C.H. Hanumantrao is the epitome of intellect, wisdom, integrity, and humanity. Inspired by of egalitarianism, freedom, peace, creative thought from a young age. He not only espoused but also practiced democracy, socialism, and secularism in this dedicated work lasting several decades. Professor Rao is a distinguished and globally acknowledged agricultural and development economist. His deep research insights have significantly contributed to framing policies at the highest levels. As a member of policy-making bodies like the National Advisory Council 2004 to 8, Planning Commission 1982-86, 7th and 8th Finance Commissions, Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister 83-85, and Professor Rao was awarded the Padma Bhushan for his valuable contribution in the field of literature and education in 2004. Professor Hanumantrao has supported economic reforms with a human face. He has stood for the cause of small states. His intellectual contribution to the formation of Telangana state has been immense. The Telangana Economic Association greatly acknowledges the encouragement given by Professor Rao since its inception in 2016. He not only has inaugurated the association but also released its logo on the occasion. He is an inspiration for generations to come for his noble qualities as well as his meticulous contributions to the discipline of economics. The Telangana Economic Association is honored to felicitate Professor C.H. Hanumantrao. The members of the association pay their respects and tributes for his lifetime achievement and contribution to academia and society.
Request all the users to write అడుకున్నారు మీ అక్కల ఓకే సూపర్ వెనక్కి రండి హ్యాండ్ మేక్ అక్కడికి వెళ్తారు
Professor Mahendra Dev, Professor Nrutyam Reddy, Professor Narasimha Reddy, Professor Revati, and all the young economists present here. I'm overwhelmed by the honor you have bestowed on me on the occasion of this conference of the Telangana Economic Association, meeting being held in this beautiful hall of the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. I have not done much for the Telangana Economic Association, or for that matter, for Telangana in the last 10 years after its formation, to deserve this honor. Yet, if you have done this, It only speaks of your generosity and whatever you have been familiar with or told about something about the past, which you also mentioned. So when you speak of the past, although I have not done much for Telangana or Andhra Pradesh in the recent period, but I must share with you my deep gratitude that I feel about my exposure to the Telangana agriculture, Andhra Pradesh agriculture in my formative years of my education, whether it is post-graduation in economics from the Usmania University or PhD at the Delhi School of Economics or postdoctoral work at the Institute of Economic Growth and the University of Chicago. These are the formative years when I had the greatest exposure to the working of agriculture and agricultural economy in Andhra Pradesh and in the old Hyderabad state, of which Telangana was an important part. This I must mention because this has shaped the whole of my thinking and research work in the following period, the remaining period, extending up to the recent period, where some of my work was mentioned by Professor Bangalore on inclusive growth. So this exposure in the early years, by way of field work, personally going and meeting people, collecting data, asking them questions, living with them, living in the villages for months together in some of the villages, whether it is Rayalaseema village or Coastal Andhra village or Telangana villages of my own district. So my first work, research work was Professor Revati has mentioned, agricultural marketing in Marpaka village. This is my own native village. I got monograph, which earned me a good degree in economics of Usmania University, along with other papers. It was with me, it was traveling with me wherever I go for the last 60 years. So it was gathering dust. I showed it to Professor Revati, you got it digitized, and some copies are now available, I think. And then my PhD from the Delhi School of Economics was that, again, that is the fieldwork which I did in the whole of Andhra Pradesh at the time, because Andhra Pradesh was formed just at that time when I started my field. And I did my fieldwork in coastal Andhra, such as West Godavari district and Guntur, and then Rayalaseema, Anantapur district, and Karimnagar district in Telangana, including my own villages. So where I stayed for months together with the families whom I met after I did my PhD also in the course of my travels as member of the Planning Commission. When I went to Vijayawada, I could not resist the temptation to go to my villages where I had done field work earlier. So this exposure, your contact with the people, questioning them and staying with them gives a lot of initial impressions and shapes your thinking and ideology. So this I want to record with gratitude on this occasion and to share with you some my feelings. Thank you very much.
Yes, understood. Thank you.
I request all the executive members and office bearers of the Economic Association gather here.
మేమంతా నిలుచుకున్నాం, మీరు పైకి ఎక్కినారు.
వాళ్ళే మమ్మల్ని పిక్ చేస్తారు, పైకి రమ్మన్నారు.
బెంచ్ ఎక్కి దూకండి.
మధ్యలో రైట్. స్టూడెంట్స్ తీసుకొచ్చాను, మీతో ఫోటో దిగుతాను.
ఆయన పంపించండి ముత్యంరెడ్డి, ఆయన సార్ అని సార్తో వెళ్ళండి. అక్కడ 5 minutes బయటికి వెళ్ళరా. ఆయన కోఆపరేటివ్ మూవ్మెంట్ పైన చేస్తాను. రీసెంట్ గా ట్రైంగ్ టు అమెండ్ ట్యాక్స్, రిడ్యూస్ ప్రైవేట్ షేర్ క్యాపిటల్. రమ్మన్నారు మేనేజర్. ఈజ్ యాక్టివ్ గా మీరు
request all the members to be seated, and there will be Dr. Jayashankar Memorial Lecture now.
కూర్చోండి. తర్వాత ఇది అయిపోయినండి ఆయన చేస్తున్నాడు. ఈ మధ్యలో దే వాంట్ టు ఇంట్రడ్యూస్ PPP కోఆపరేట్ చేస్తున్నారు.
So now you are.
ఎప్పుడు మంచిగా ఇక్కడ బయట ఉంటుంది. is difficult. వెళ్ళినప్పుడు అక్కడ స్పెండ్ సమ్ టైం. పాతది అది కంటిన్యూస్ తీసేస్తే పోతుంది అంటే అది ఎందుకంటే ఇప్పుడు అయితే ఏదో వాళ్ళు చేసే పనులు చేస్తా ఉన్నాం. Slowly, it's good that the other day we saw Dhaneshwar Nagani పంపిస్తాను. It was a good gift. అవునా, నేను చూసినారు ఆ ఫోటోలన్నీ పంపించాడు ఆయన. నేను వస్తుంది అలాంగ్ విత్ హిస్ ఓన్ 60 కదా మేడం ఇక్కడ 60.
I gave convocation address. Best greetings. Yeah, when I was CSCP.
Gujarat.
He was ఇక్కడ CSCP ఢిల్లీలో past president.
It's my pleasure to invite Professor Jyoti Rani Garu, former Dean FSS of the University. And she is also editing a paper. And before, I'm sorry, before I request Jyoti Rani Garu, Nazma research scholar will introduce first with Rani.
Respected dignitaries on and off the days, academicians, research scholars, and students, a very good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Department of Economics, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, I deem it a privilege to introduce you to a stalwart in the academic field, Tota Jyoti Rani Garu, retired professor in economics, former dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, Kakatiya University, Warangal. Professor Tota Jyoti Rani Garu belongs to the first batch of Kakatiya University, and subsequently she joined in the university service in December 1977. Promoted as a reader in 1986 and became a professor in 1994. She has put in 37 years in teaching students. Her research interests are women's studies, political economy, environmental economics, and industrial economics. She has supervised 10 PhD and MPhil students. She has published 30 books, edited 9 books, and 250 articles, and presented 265 papers in regional, state, and national level seminars. She has been a panel speaker in many workshops and discussions in India and USA. She has completed 3 major research projects and initiated 7 projects as Director, Center for Women's Studies, Kakatiya University, and also 3 minor research projects and departmental projects. She acted as a director for 15 state and national level seminars. She's a writer and editor of PG course material for SDLCE Kakatiya University and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University. At present, she is one of the editors for the journal Stree Sadhana, a progressive women's journal since its inception. She has acted as a resource person in various universities in Andhra and Telangana, and she has held various administrative positions as head, principal, board of studies chairperson, and she was the first one in the state to introduce a specialization paper of economics of women's studies, MA Economics 1987. She was the first president for the Kakatiya University Women's Teachers Association during 2011-2013. As a social activist, she was the founder member and convener of Society for Women's Studies and Development since 1982. Indeed, we are very fortunate to have you here today, ma'am. And I thank profusely Professor K. Mutyam Reddy Garu, President of Telangana Economic Association, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you all.
I now request Professor Jyoti Rani to deliver Professor Jayashankar Memorial Lecture.
Good afternoon to all, because morning, this is afternoon. And respected dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, friends, teacher friends, scholar friends, and student friends, one and all. In fact, it gives me immense pleasure to present Dr. Jayashankar Sir's memorial lecture in the 8th annual conference of Telangana Economic Association. Really, I feel it as a great privilege. I extend my wholehearted thanks to Telangana Economic Association for giving me the opportunity. We all know that funds, water, employment in Telugu, Neelu, Nidhulu, Niyamakalu, in Telangana became a powerful and popular slogan to strengthen the movement of separate Telangana. However, I will confine my discussion to the issue of employment because it is closely associated with the lives and future of youth who are now defined as the demographic dividend in view of their high share in the population. And the challenge of employment is significant not only to Telangana, but also to our entire nation as well as to the globe also, entire globe. The qualitative change in the lives of people is closely connected to the availability of decent livelihoods. It is a vital indicator of inclusive growth. The Telangana people have strongly and seriously hoped that the formation of separate Telangana will solve their great challenge of availability of livelihoods. In this context, they have strongly united irrespective of class, caste, religion, gender, and rural-urban differences. The movement spread to entire Telangana strongly. However, the formation of separate Telangana is not in the framework of regionalization as an answer to the globalization as stated by Samir Amin. The geographic Telangana emerged as a part and parcel of the process of globalization. No change in the economic structures and their basis. As a result, the implementation of neoliberal policies will continue to strengthen the existing economic structures. Consequently, the life crisis of majority will be prolonged continuously. Only the level of intensity of the problem will be decided by the prevailing political scenario. The government sector is under deterioration in the basic sectors of education, health, and transport. Even if you confine our discussion to the education sector, in Telangana, the Telangana government has sanctioned 5 private universities in the lockdown period of COVID-19 pandemic. We know it destroyed the lives of many. In that period, it has sanctioned 5 private universities. The number of private universities is expected to increase further. Since the emergence of geographical Telangana, no recruitments of teaching and non-teaching staff in the universities. They are moving towards closure. Many reputed government-aided and degree colleges and junior colleges schools are closed due to this reason. As many as 4 lakh teacher aspirants are waiting for jobs in Telangana. Contrarily, the government is ready to close 1,290 schools on the pretext of no admissions. As many as more than 10,000 schools are functioning with 2 teachers only. The vacancies emerged due to the removal of 13,000 education volunteers during COVID-19 pandemic period have not been filled up so far. The outsourcing notification is issued and recruited in the Gurukula schools. No question of permanent recruitments. The number of students in 1st to 10th class in our state is to the extent of 60 lakhs. Out of which 47% school students are studying in government schools. Surely they belong to oppressed and suppressed class. The demise of government education will result in the denial of education to majority. This negates the goal of education for all. Similar situation can be seen in all the sectors, including health. In the achieved geographical Telangana, there is neither creation of decent livelihoods nor recruitment of vacancies in the government sector. Majority of youth who are seriously waiting for jobs are the first generation students in their families. As many as 1,08,000 people are in contract and outsourcing. Miserable jobs are the only option to their survival. The Biswal committee appointed by the then Telangana government submitted its report in 2021 has stated that as many as 1,91,000 jobs are vacant for the last 6 years. It is sad to notice that as high as 90% of these vacancies are not been filled up so far. No recruitment of group 1, 3, 4 jobs. The TSPSC exams written by 2.5 lakh people with so many aspirations have been cancelled due to the leakage of 14 papers. All the government departments are functioning with contract and outsourcing employees. The unemployment pension, which has been introduced as a temporary measure, is becoming permanent. Moreover, it is confined to declarations. The desperation of youth is resulting in suicides. Recent suicide of Pravalika could focus the seriousness of the issue clearly. Further, the narrations of the mainstream newspapers reveal that some highly educated youth are in despair, have been searching for self-employment in criminal world, which has been strengthening continuously. They are mainly attracted towards drugs mafia and forming as lumpen groups. The government did not take any measure to generate employment through the development of manufacturing sector, especially MSMEs. The foreign investments and IT hubs assumed importance. Highly polluting industries like ethanol factory came into existence in Telangana. In the post-COVID period, rapid increase in number of malls can be noticed in all the urban centers. This resulted in the loss of employment of people who are surviving with small business and services. The spread of urban company resulted in the loss of employment of people who pull through their lives in household services, small repairs, and saloon work, etc. The agrarian crisis is intensifying in rural areas. No creation of non-farm employment. The rural youth are forced to migrate for livelihoods. They are living miserably by working in unorganized sector or as casual labor in outsourcing or in the gig economy. The Telangana government has stopped thinking about the creation of decent employment opportunities. We all know that the crisis of unemployment played a critical and decisive role in recent assembly elections. It could replace the ruling party. And we all know that LPG policies under neoliberal framework entered into our country on the name of New Economic Policy in 1991. Since then, the problem of unemployment became further severe. The youth have been facing multiple challenges to find a secure job. In view of this seriousness, it is necessary to discuss the growing problem of unemployment in India and its impact on the lives of youth. Because availability of decent livelihoods will ensure dignity with self-respect. We can live with dignity and with self-respect. The employment generation became the prime goal of our welfare governments since second five-year plan with the declaration of the establishment of socialistic pattern of society. The achievement of this goal will end the poverty to a large extent. It will also reduce economic inequalities and attain inclusive growth. The entry of globalization in 1991 on the name of New Economic Policy has created entire contrast situation. The casual jobs which have neither security nor rights have been legitimized since 1991. The strong implementation of neoliberal policies to strengthen the globalization process resulted in the emergence and continuation of jobless growth, and further it has been transformed into job loss growth. It became normal for majority to work as casual labor in miserable conditions in informal sector. For the past two to three decades, International Labour Organization has been warning Indian government about this issue and suggested that it is the responsibility of the government to provide decent employment. Contrastingly, privatization of public sector undertakings, corporatization of education, health, privatization of all the sectors, and contraction of government administration has resulted in the normalization of informal and outsourcing employment. The informal jobs in formal sector, informalization and casualization are strengthened as the main features of labor market. The livelihoods which have no security, no restriction of working hours per day, no labor rights and no welfare became the source of sustenance for majority. Consequently, the crisis of world of labor has been further complicated. It disturbs us seriously about the approval of Agnipath scheme by the Government of India on 14 June 2022 to recruit soldiers into 3 services of armed forces only for 4 years. And everybody knows that it resulted in violent protest from the youth. And the sudden declaration of lockdown led to the stalemate in the lives of majority of workers and employees. The crores of migrant labor who migrated to urban areas for survival became daily wage workers. The phenomenon of no responsibility of the owner toward labor welfare is strongly strengthened. The helpless Migrant labor has no option except to go back to their villages along with their families to survive. Now government is responsible to provide at least transport facilities. They have to go hundreds of miles on foot. We all witnessed the miserable conditions of migrant labor. The world has stunned by looking at the situation in the so-called fast-growing economy. The spread of globalization resulted in the intensification of rural distress and agrarian crisis. No any source of livelihood for rural youth. On the other, people are thrown out from their villages on the name of SEZs or major projects. And the migration is the only option for the survival of the rural youth. The migrant labor are to the tune of 30 crore and 30 lakhs in 2001, and they have been increased to 35 crores during COVID-19 pandemic. And during COVID-19 pandemic, as many as 189 million casual labor lost their jobs. And 400 million who are working in the unorganized sector, their jobs are in danger. Thus, the MSMEs, the manufacturing units of unorganized sector are closed, which are already in crisis due to the demonetization and GST. The owners of these units as well as the workers lost their livelihoods. The teachers who are working in private schools have to sell the vegetables. The highly educated youth who are teaching in private engineering colleges have committed suicides owing to the loss of earnings. All this is the study conducted by Azim Premji University will reveal all this data. The World Bank states that the women who are in the sensitive jobs, that's why the loss of jobs for women is relatively higher when compared to men. The World Economic Forum states that the pandemic pushes back gender parity by a generation. Moreover, 35 to 65% additionally fall down into the trap of poverty. The World Inequality Report 2022 reveals that the issue of hunger globally increased by 82% when compared to 2019. Many studies state that it is difficult to estimate as to how much time it takes to bring back the people to the pre-pandemic crisis level. Contrarily, the corporate forces and rich revived just in 5 months. It resulted in the excess rise in the wealth of wealthy. Super luxuries increased. Space tourism started. The COVID-19 clearly revealed the intensity of economic inequalities. This brutal situation will be seen on the entire globe. By looking at these circumstances, the UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres states that it is false to say that we are traveling in the same boat. Few are traveling in the luxurious super yachts, but many are suffering in debris. And World Inequality Report 2022, as well as Oxfam report says that the COVID-19 pandemic is not the cause of present crisis, but the strong implementation of neoliberal policies by all the countries to strengthen globalization process by ignoring and neglecting people's welfare has been the true cause for their critical lives. In this context, did the Indian government take any measures for the creation of decent livelihoods? Even in the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, which involves the package of 20,97,000 crore to address COVID-19 pandemic, no any proposal can be seen for the generation of employment. It's a serious contradiction. The government itself informed the parliament that as many as 5 lakh small companies are closed during COVID-19 pandemic period. Still, the government did not give any importance to the lives and livelihoods of people. The goal of creating decent livelihoods has been negated for the past 2 decades, especially since 2014. Therefore, our government did not pay any attention to the recommendation of World Bank to abolish neoliberal policies. And another thing is, both labor force participation rates and the work participation rates gives information about the livelihoods in India. They state that during 1983 to 2018, the participation of youth is critically reduced. The intensity of decline is excessively high since 2011. And Share of agriculture sector in our gross domestic product has been declining continuously from 1980 onwards. Contrarily, its share in employment is high. While the share of industrial sector did not change, but its share in employment shows a rise due to the construction industry. For the past 3 decades, the share of service sector is increasing, but its share in employment did not increase to that extent. Dependence on the growth of service sector is not sustainable. Though India would attract foreign investments with so many concessions and incentives, but fail to divert it to the manufacturing sector. They are entering into service sector, which yields quick and high profits. The highly popularized Make in India program failed to divert foreign investments towards manufacturing sector. Moreover, foreign technology did not come along with foreign investments. And further, the wealth is transferring to dominant countries from emerging economies, including India. The study made by Norwegian School of Economics, that is Global Financial Industry and Culture for Applied Research in 2015, it states that the net transfer of wealth from global south to dominant countries since 1980 is to the tune of $16.3 trillion. And in regard to one of the important goal of Make in India is to generate additional employment to the tune of 100 millions by 2022. The study made by Center for Economic Data Analysis of Ashoka University reveals that from 2016-17 to 2020-21, the employment generated is 24 millions only, but the job loss during COVID-19 pandemic is 11 millions. Thus, you can see a serious failure in regard to the aim of employment generation. And moreover, the economic growth is not at all connected to the employment generation. The economic growth is resulting in job loss and negative relationship between them. For example, during 2012-18, the growth rate is 7%, but the number of workers declined from 467.7 million to 461.5 million during the same period. And further, no accessibility to education and skills for 360 million youth in 2019 who are greatly stated as demographic dividend. They face multiple challenges to get stable employment. The youth power should be utilized for development and self-reliance of the country by creating decent employment opportunities. Instead, the government itself says that they should learn skills as per the demand in other countries and should migrate to those countries. It seriously disturbs any patriot. And the study of ILO 2021 states that ours is the lowest labor income country among BRICS. Further, excessive rise in the income and wealth inequalities can be seen in India. Oxfam report says that India is one of the 2 emerging economies which have highest economic inequalities. The same report states that in 2007, as high as 73% of value generated is appropriated by just 1% of wealthy, while 50% of the poor lost their livelihoods. In view of the exorbitant rise in the economic inequalities, the demand for high-end goods will rise, which are exclusively used by wealthy. The skill intensity will be high in the production of these goods. In the production and sale of these goods, the poor can be seen in lowest cadre as watchmen, sales and cleaning persons, etc. Further, skill intensity is on the rise even in the traditional consumption sector, luxurious food, drinks, restaurants, etc. Thus, no livelihood will be available for unskilled and semi-skilled workforce. And all this results in the simultaneous rise of growth, wealth accumulation, and poverty. Therefore, Karl Marx states, the process of development of capitalist system simultaneously creates enormous wealth concentrated in few hands and high-level unemployed reserve army with miserable lives. And with the entry of globalization, the employment generation departed from the goals of government. Therefore, in the public policies, no proposal can be seen in regard to the generation of decent employment. The continuation of jobless and jobless growth for the past several years clearly show that the majority people are thrown out from the process of development. Instead of inclusive growth, we are strongly moving towards exclusive growth. This is a tragic reality. This will strongly indicate the livelihoods crisis of majority. As per ILO estimates in our country, as high as 80% of the workforce have been compelled to work in unorganized sector and in outsourcing, which are characterized by exploitation and discrimination. Many are entering into pitiable self-employment. The central government has formulated 4 labor codes by merging 28 labor laws to increase the intensity of labor exploitation and to legalize it. And the 4 labor codes abolish the 8 working hours per day, which has been achieved through the struggles for decades. For the owner, further, the owner can remove the worker at any time without any notice. No job security, no guarantee. All of them will intensify labor exploitation, labor insecurity further accentuated. The IT sector, which is dominated by powerful corporate forces and foreign capital, have been totally exempted from the labor laws. And during COVID-19 pandemic, several states have suspended labor laws. No safety, no security, intensification of pressure of work. Consequently, factory accidents increased seriously in the post-lockdown period. So many workers died, many injured and suffered from various kinds of illnesses. The owners will have many ways and means to avoid compensation. And as the government announced so many tax concessions, incentives, allocation of scarce and valuable lands, exemption from the laws of environmental protection resulted in the improvement of our rank in the ease of doing business. Our rank improved from 100 to 63. This index will be prepared by World Bank. And the tax concessions during 2014 to 19 are as high as 5.76 lakh crore rupees. In addition, writing of loans to wealthy and corporate giants to the extent of 5 lakh crores. It is to be noted that during the COVID-19 pandemic, they could write off the outstanding loans of Vijay Mallya, Ramdev Baba, etc. to the tune of 68,000 crores. We all know that the development process of capitalist system will be strongly associated with economic crisis. The history proved that every crisis will strengthen capitalist class. It will create new forms of labor exploitation, which intensifies labor exploitation further. In this process, in the post-economic crisis 2008, gig labor system has been emerged, but on the name of highest liberalization of labor. And in this system, many companies emerged basing on digital platforms and mobile apps, owing to the excessive rise in the digitalization at the global level. Gig commercial model arrived to intensify labor exploitation under the neoliberal framework. It will mainly utilize the labor in the traditional services who do not have any skills. Moreover, the required instruments for the services will not be provided by the app companies, but it is the responsibility of gig workers. Thus, the burden of capital costs and risk thrown onto the gig workers. In the conditions where the youth will not get work even as casual labor, in the unorganized sector, their hunger compels them to accept highly exploitative gig system. This indicates the highest level of working class crisis. It is totally opposite to decent livelihoods, that the youth are thrown into excessively vulnerable system. And further, we have to discuss about the technological innovations like automation, artificial intelligence, what is its impact on the employment generation. In fact, technological innovations are expected to raise the efficiency of workers and to reduce labor intensity and pressure. This should bring a qualitative change in the lives of people. However, In the process of development of capitalist system, the goal of monopoly capital will not be confined to excessive profits, but extends to strengthen their grip and control over working class. This goal will indicate and control the direction of technological innovations. Further, this goal alone will decide as to what extent, where, and when these technical progress has to be implemented. The extraordinary growth in the technology could divide and subdivide labor market in various ways at the global, national, and regional levels. All this intensifies labor exploitation. And the growth of IT sector is excessive for the last 2 decades in India. Therefore, the goal of higher education and technical education is became only to get job in IT sector. This sector has provided an opportunity to the middle class for development. However, these skills are not accessible to poor. It is difficult for them to enter into this sector. Gail Omed says that the sector is dominated by urban middle class youth. She further says that in the lower level jobs related to BPO sector will be available to lower and poor class. Those people who are working in this sector should learn new technologies continuously as the uninterrupted technical progress takes place fastly. Otherwise, they fear that they lose jobs. Therefore, they learn new skills. Still, if the corporate forces feel that it is not profitable, then they remove thousands of workers with a simple email. The IT sector, which is characterized by high level of technology, is dominated by dominant countries, especially US. Since the last year, removal of employees in this sector intensified. Elon Musk in Twitter could remove thousands of workers with one single email. All the corporate giants are moving on the same line. As per layoff.fyi.com, in 2023 alone, highest layoffs taken place in 696 IT companies. Multinational giants like Meta, Microsoft, Amazon are among them. Removal of labor became the main goal of technological innovations. Various studies and reports of World Economic Forum, UNO, ILO clearly identified this reality. Moreover, they worried about the consequences of this trend. In this context, they opined that the trials to negate labor on the name of technological innovations will aggressively raise the problem of unemployment, labor exploitation, poverty, and economic inequalities. Various studies estimated that the rise in the usage of automation, robots, and artificial intelligence results in the substantial job losses. At present, IBM uses machines in the place of humans in the activities which have no relation with the customer. Several studies proved it. The estimates of UN DESA, due to automation, it states that due to automation, as high as 80% present jobs will fall in danger, and middle-level skills will become obsolete by 2030. As many as 20 million job losses in manufacturing activity. World Economic Forum survey says, which studied 15 industrial sectors in 26 countries, states that, that by 2025, as many as 85 million jobs will become obsolete. If they improve their skills, among them, less than 50% may get the opportunity. IMF survey, which examined 15 countries, states that shortly 97.3 million jobs will become obsolete. Further, 54 million jobs in 28 OECD countries will be in danger. The joint study of Oxford economists and Cisco examined 43 occupations in 21 industries of Asian countries. They state that by 2028, as much as 66.6 million jobs will become obsolete. By 2030, as high as 32% jobs will become useless. They know that even in the traditional and informal activity like retail trade, which provides livelihood to lakhs of people in India, but multinational giants like Amazon, Flipkart, Sundry, etc. entered with the latest technology. Therefore, lakhs of people will lose jobs in retail sector also in India. The usage of robots is on the rise continuously since 2000 in India. Moreover, they are used excessively in line with global trends. The TAL Bravo robot, which is manufactured by TAL Manufactured Solution, which is subsidiary to Tata Motors,
will easily be used in highly labor-intensive small industries. As consequently, many will lose the job even in the informal sectors or small industries. And another danger is by ChatGPT, which is the instrument of artificial intelligence. And the platforms related to artificial intelligence like Notion AI, Perplexity AI, etc. emerging speedily. Through ChatGPT, it is possible to write academic papers, poetry, music, coding, and homework at all levels. The arts, painting, pictures, etc. creative activities also can be done with artificial intelligence. And now ChatGPT is used by more than 100 millions. The recent study by resumebuilder.com states that the quality of these products have been appreciated by 89% in US who are using ChatGPT. All of us will wonder and feel marvelous by looking at the works done by artificial intelligence. This is created by human intelligence. Then how can we say that the human intelligence is outdated and obsolete? All this will lead to high level of job losses, even in highly skilled based works, as estimated by various studies. Thus, all kinds of jobs will be terminated, irrespective of physical or intellectual labor, skilled or unskilled labor, female or male labor. The demise of livelihoods become universal. The highest level of unemployed reserve army will accumulate. Thus, the present system is the cause for the destruction of lives and livelihoods of majority. Is it possible for the system to survive? The robots and artificial intelligence have been created by diligent, dedicated, and tireless joint work of physical and intellectual labor are now in the grip and control of capitalist class. Therefore, it says that human intelligence and human labor are useless and obsolete. The IBM survey states that the present education system will be totally useless for future jobs. This conclusion is confirmed by the joint study of Oxford economists and Cisco. In this context, it is significant to note that in the global literary test conducted in 2018, the Alibaba robo made by Microsoft got first place. In these conditions, what will be the future and fate of human intelligence and human labor? The entire education system, including foreign and private universities, and the massive allocations of valuable and scarce lands to them, collection of highest fees. The middle class youth runs after these studies by selling their properties and by taking loans are mere useless. The youth who are not getting jobs or who are losing their jobs will feel that they themselves are responsible for this. Therefore, they feel seriously insecure. And they search for solutions in tantric pujas, homas, yagas, mantras, wearing color stones, changing letters in their names, etc. While the poor and marginalized classes will face severe difficulty in getting secure jobs. Instead of finding fault with the system, they find fault with their parents and always fight with them for their inability to accumulate wealth. Contrastingly, the TV, cinema, and internet always show super luxury goods and lives which are impossible for the vulnerable youth to enjoy. They hate their miserable lives. Due to their lure for costly lives of wealthy, they will easily be trapped by the criminal world which is simultaneously created by the exploitative capitalist system for its own survival. The serious and severe crisis of unemployment transforms youth into lumpens with no working class consciousness, no human values, results in the same shameless cultural deterioration. All this is closely linked to the prevailing mode of production. In this context, it is the serious responsibility of intellectuals and progressive democrats to make the youth conscious of collectivism, social and human values, and to consolidate them strongly to build the structures that will provide decent lives and livelihoods to all. I strongly feel that the Telangana Economic Association is a serious intellectual association. Therefore, I hope and wish that the Telangana Economic Association will play a powerful and active role in this direction. Thank you.
respect our guests, all that.
I don't say.
Now, the souvenir released by the Professor Bes Mahendra sir and D. Narasimha Reddy sir.
Now we felicitate our guests.
Now, let's felicitate to our guest. I request Professor Mahendra Dev sir, please. Now I request Professor D.N. Reddy sir. Felicitation by the Department of Economics and Telangana Academic Association. Madam.
Gender difference color తొందర చేయండి పర్వాలేదు కలర్ డిఫరెన్స్ జెండర్ డిఫరెన్స్
ఇప్పుడు అందరికి కూడా ఫెలిసిటేషన్ స్టేజ్ మీద ఉన్న వాళ్ళకి అటెండ్ అయిన వాళ్ళకి ప్రొఫెసర్ టి జ్యోతిరాణి మేడం ప్రొఫెసర్
Department of Economics.
Yeah, on behalf of Department of Economics, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. I request Professor Mutyam Reddy sir. To get the felicitation. And Professor Narasimha sir. Professor Narasimha sir, on behalf of Department of Economics, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University. Yes.
Rivalry between Okay, thank you.
Now I request Dr. B. Venkateshwar Rao sir. Dr. B. Venkateshwar Rao sir, Secretary of Telangana Economic Association. Felicitated on behalf of Department of Economics, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University. Professor Srinivas Vaddanu, Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, Mahendra sir. Yeah, sorry, Professor S. Mahendra Dev sir, be felicitated on behalf of Department of Economics. Yeah, now Professor Pushpa Chakrapani, Director Academics, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University. On behalf of Department of Economics. We are in India independent registers. Yeah, now Professor Srinivas Vaddanu, Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
And I also request Dr. Krishna Reddy, K. Krishna Reddy, who is the coordinator of the seminar and local secretary of Telangana Economic Association. Annual conference. Dr. K. Krishna Reddy, be felicitated on this occasion. Thank you.
Now, I request Dr. Venkateshwar Rao, Secretary, Telangana Economic Association.
So the we have come to the end of the inaugural session now, and I have the pleasant to propose the vote of thanks to all the dignitaries who have come all the way to present their